Hey, what's up guys, it's Theo from Fino Concept. So today we are going to create this simple shoe ad in Adobe Photoshop. So let's just get started. Welcome to Fino Concept. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on any of our future videos. So let's go ahead and open up our application. For this tutorial, I'm using Adobe Photoshop CC 2021 and I'm going ahead to create a new document. And just like our Bluetooth headset tutorial we did a while back, I'm also going to set this to 2000 by 2000 pixels, and the resolution is going to be 300. Now the reason I do this is this is what I feel comfortable with, and it's also going to be a social media ad, so it has to be in a square form, especially for Instagram. So I click on create. Now this is the shoe I'm going with. I feel that the resolution is high enough, so that is what I'm going to be using. So I'll right click and go to open with Photoshop. Now once we are in Photoshop, all I have to do is just crop this image out. I'll actually have to use the magic wand because everything is all white. I can just click and get the selection, but you notice that we have some white parts of the shoe also here, so it is actually eating into that. So I will be using the quick selection tool just to get rid of those portions. Now with the quick selection tool, now you can see it is a plus icon. When I hold down the Alt key, it changes to a minus icon, and I can take out all those portions that I don't need. So something like this, brush over this area like so, and I think that is pretty much it. All right, now I'm going to reduce the size using the left bracket key just to select this area. Then I'll click on this lock icon here to change it into a layer. Then I'll hit delete on my keyboard. So you see, this is what we have. Now we have a transparent background. Anytime you see this gray and white checks, you know that we have a transparent background. Now I'm also going to select these areas because they are not part of the shoe and just take them out like so. So again, hit delete on my keyboard just to take that part out. Now the best tool to use is actually the pen tool, but I'm feeling lazy, so I'll be using the lasso tool instead. So I just click and drag over to the area I don't need, something like this, just some sort of rough sketch, and I'll hit delete. Let's do it one more time. Then I'll bring it right around here. I'll select this area as well and hit delete. We haven't even started with the tutorial. This is basically things I'm sure you already know already. If you have a transparent background for your image, you wouldn't have to go through this. So if I fit this to stream, this is what we have. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just click and drag and drop it over here, and boom, this is what we have. You can also just use Ctrl A to highlight everything, Ctrl X to cut it out. Then you can bring it here and hit Ctrl V to paste it in. And you can see we have two of these. So either way should work just fine. Now I'm going to orient this a little bit, but before that, let's right click and go to create or convert to smart object so that it wouldn't pixelate a lot once we move it around. Now once I have this, let's go ahead and group this up also. Ctrl G, and let's call this image. Let's just call it image. Forgive me, I like typing in caps. So I'm going to rotate this using the move tool, which is here, or V on your keyboard, and I'll change the position to, I think, something like this, and stretch it out just a little bit. I think something like this should look just fine. I'm also going to just click and drag it towards the side so that it looks a bit cool. Now let's go ahead and add in our colors. So I'll create a new group, which you can do that by accessing it at the bottom here, the third icon from the right, and let's call it background. Forgive me, I like labeling my folders and layers. So yeah, we'll go into the adjustment panel, which should be the icon at the center of everything here. Then I'll go into gradients. So inside the gradients field, I'll just click on the rectangle right next to gradient, and I'll select basic. If you are using the older version of Photoshop, you should just select the first preset, which is foreground to background color, and I'll click on, no, before you click on OK, we are going to select our colors. So in this case, I'm just selecting colors from the shoe. So I'll click on this square or rectangle we have at the bottom here, select color, and I'll click on any part of the shoe to select a color that I am interested in. I like the dark portion, so I'll select dark from here and click on OK. Then I'll do the exact same thing, select the one at the extreme right click on color. This time around, I'll select a much lighter version of the same color. Or better still, if you select the same thing, just click up here just to make it a bit lighter. But I'll select it from here or somewhere around here. Yeah, and click on OK. And click on OK one more time. Now, before we close this up, you notice where we have the style. I'll change it to radial. And you can see with the radial, it is one color fading into another color but outside. So you can go ahead and reverse it so that it is we have the darker portion fading into the lighter portion right at the center, something like this. This is what I feel comfortable with. So I'll place it somewhere around here and I'll click on OK. Now, if you take a closer look, you notice that we didn't create a wonderful selection. So I'll go ahead and take care of that. Using my lasso tool, I'll just create a selection like so. Yeah, this is the part I'm taking away. And I'll hold down the shift key so that I can create the selection over here and add it to what I have in here. So once I'm done, I'll just create a new layer just to mask that part out. Now, this is where I created a selection. That's why the shoe is gone. So with the layer mask selected, I'll just hold down Control and press I. This is going to invert my selection and that part is going to be missing. So basically that is it. Now let's go ahead and create some few random shapes. I'm also going to be using or creating everything inside the background folder. So let's create a new folder and call it shapes. I'm going to try my possible best to make this tutorial as short as possible. So let's grab a rectangle tool and we are just going to create a rectangle. If you are using the newer version of Photoshop, you could see that you have a rotation here. Sorry, have the edges here so you can create some rounded corners for whatever shape you have. I'm going to set mine to 50 and I'm just going to create something like this whilst holding down the shift key so that I have a perfect proportion. Now, one thing I should have done was I have my stroke set to 5 pixels. So I'm going ahead to just change it to none. And the fill, I'll select a solid color, any color at all, and just hit on OK. So I'll bring this right around here and let's go ahead and rotate it to whatever we feel comfortable with. Now let's create a duplicate using Control J. Then I'll rotate the second one to something like this. Yeah, something like this is okay. Probably place it somewhere around here and hit on OK. Now I'm going ahead to change these colors. Of course, I'm actually going with the black because we have a black theme also going on here. You can also use the white. I mean, why not? But I prefer using the black in this case. So I'll double click and just select the black version from here and hit on OK. So basically for the top one, that is what we have. Let me go ahead and select it and rotate it to something like this. Now let's go ahead and create some few shapes. So you know what, let's group this as always and call this triangles. And I'll go ahead and duplicate these two, Control J, and I'll place them somewhere around here. But this time around, I'll make them much bigger. Something like this should be just fine. And also I can just go ahead and orient it to however I feel comfortable with. I can even do it one after the other so that it doesn't look weird. So I think I'll place this one somewhere around here. Now this is looking cool. Now what I want to do is with this shape selected, I'll press U to bring up the shapes tool. And instead of making the fill while active, I'm actually going to set it to none. And I'm going to set the stroke to a white color and probably increase the pixel count. So probably 20 points should be just fine. You know what, let's go back and change it to about 10. I think 10 looks okay. So yeah, this is looking much better. Now that we have this, I think we can continue. So I'm going ahead to create another shape. Let's call this blob. A blob because you just be creating some random shapes. It doesn't really make sense. So to do that, I'll be using the pen tool. Now with the pen tool active, I'll go up here and change it to shape in case it is set to path. And I'll create a random shape like this. Now, I didn't realize that the stroke is still set up here. So I'll change it to none and I'll change the fill to a solid color. So I have something like this. And I can go ahead and, you know what, let's go ahead and recreate this. I prefer having it something like this. All right. So I'll go back and change the stroke to none and the fill to a solid white color. So this is what I have. Now I'll be doing a similar thing right around here. So click and drag, just create some weird shape and hit enter. and now this is what I have. Now the reason for this is because I don't want to have these edges laying around. I'll have to create these shapes just to fill up those portions. Now let's go ahead and create some more. This time around we'll be creating the ellipse or a circle. So let's create a new group, call this circle or circles. Then I'm going to zoom in somewhere around here, go back to my ellipse tool, and I'll create a circle like this whilst holding down the shift key. So something like this, very small or tiny. Then again, I'm going to set it to a none. I think you have to be doing this just once, and now I have a shape like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be duplicating this and putting them right along each other. Now it is going to be a lot tougher if I have to do this one after the other. So in my case, I'll be using the Alt key. So with the move tool still selected right up here, V on your keyboard, hold down the Alt key. You realize that you have this double arrow. If I zoom in, this is what you see. So we have a black arrow on top of a white one. So basically that is what we want to achieve. Now I'll just click and drag whilst holding down the Alt key and Shift key so that it is perpendicular to each other, or horizontal to each other actually. I'll do the exact same thing one more time, one more time, one more time, one more time. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. I think these are okay. I can go ahead and place them next to each other rather than having them separated like so. Yeah, I think something like this is okay. So what I'll do is I'll create a duplicate and bring the duplicate down like so. So about 6 each. No, let me do this one more time. So something like this, trying to keep the spacing even. No, let's go crazy and do more than 6. Yeah, I think something like this is okay. Beautiful. So what I'll do is with the circles, I'll just create a duplicate. So Control J, and I don't know, let's place the second one somewhere around here. And no, let's even flip it around by 90 degrees. So -90. And now we have something like this. So basically the effect is coming out already. Now let's go ahead and create some few text. So I'll create a new group and call it text. Now inside that text folder, I'll grab my horizontal type tool, T on your keyboard, and I'll type in something like new arrival special collection. I'll highlight everything and I'll be using the left align, left align alignment. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be using Ultra for all of these. So let's go ahead and change some few things. The font I'm using is called Gotham, which I have been using a lot on this channel. So yeah, obviously I'm going back to that. I love this font so much. I'll probably be using the medium version. I think it looks great. And you know what? Let's go ahead and change the font color to white. So highlight everything, change it to white. Now these two, I'm going to make them much bigger. So I'll be using the bold version, and I'll increase the size to something like this. You know what? Let's go with the Ultra instead. Yeah, I think something like this is looking okay. And the size is a little bit too big, so you know what? Let's reduce it to about 24. Yeah, I think 24 is okay. Now you notice that let me zoom in. The spacing is quite even here, but I want this special collection to be a lot closer to the new arrival, so I have it selected. Go into window, have character checked, and it should pop up somewhere here. Now what we have here is the text above and the text below. I'm going to push them towards each other, so I just click and drag to the left, and notice that they come closer to each other. This is something I want. So right around I think 24 should be, no, let's go to 20. Yeah, 20 should be just fine, and let's fit this to screen. So this is what we have. Now in case you have some other information, you can pretty much place it somewhere here, but since I don't, I'll just have it in here like so. You know what, let me go ahead and change the font to Gotham. Like I said, if you are using a newer version of Photoshop, it's going to create this Lorem Ipsum text for you at random. Then you can just go ahead and play with it if that is what you want to do. So I think I have something like this in here for me. Now in case you have a logo also, you know what, you can also just bring it in. And in my case, I do have a logo, but I can't seem to find it. You know what, let's just grab one from the Theolabi channel and just open it up in Photoshop. So Control A highlights everything, Control X cut it out, Control W will close this window, and Control V will paste it in here. So let's reduce the size to something like this, and you can pretty much put your logo somewhere around here so that people can trust your brand a little bit more. So yeah, and let's create some other information like call information in case people would like to call your number. So I have it in here. Let's see, plus 233 0123, something like this. Now I like leaving spaces in between them because I feel it is a lot easier for people to recognize if you have the spaces in there. So that's usually what I do. It doesn't mean when you are dialing these numbers you should have a space in there. So let's add in the website. So www.finoconcepts.com, and let's fit this to screen and see what we have. Now this is ridiculously huge, so let's go ahead and reduce the size. I think something like this should be just fine. So 10 points should be okay for me. Yeah, I think this is looking okay. Now instead of having this over here like how we have randomly, it looks a bit weird for me. So to do to correct this, I'll just be using the rectangular tool just to create some random shape over here. So I'll set the rounded edges to also about 50, and I'll create a random shape like this so that it doesn't look all weird. I don't know if I'm making sense. Now let's go ahead and increase the size of this a little bit because the information here is quite important to us. So I think something like this should be just fine. So basically this is it. If you want to add in some other shapes, you can feel free to do that. I actually didn't even put anything here. You know what, let's just type in 50% off. No, let's go crazy. Let's make it 80% and increase the size, of course. Now you can use any alignment you want. I should probably type this in caps. All right, so basically that is it. And thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like to watch more of my videos, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Fino Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.